Dear friends, welcome to the DigiU ecosystem webinar. My name is Alexey Ognev. Today our webinar will be held together with Boris Povar, CEO of EYWA. We are recording this webinar on Friday, February 3rd, and you will watch it in a few days. And of course, during the webinar, you will have some questions, and we will answer these questions in our chat, where you see a link to the webinar Ask Questions. As always, I ask you to keep these questions useful and interesting. We will answer them live on the day of our premiere of this webinar. Well, let's get started. Hello, Boris. Hi there. Let's talk today about what is happening in EYWA, at what stage it is now. I'll ask a few questions and guide our dialogue. And through these questions, our audience will better understand what cool and incredible things are going on in EYWA. Let's do it. Okay. What is the focus of the EYWA team right now? One of the main tasks now is passing audits. We had audit started at the end of December, rather an audit. It is carried out by Smart State company. The first, let's say, portion of the code has been already tested. This is part of smart contract. There will be a full audit of all components, including our validator nodes and the back-end in the system and smart contracts. So we interact with the audit team and eliminate any problems found. So there are small tasks to rebuild the architecture of smart contracts. So the work is in progress. Estimated completion date for audits is the end of February, beginning of March. This is one of the tasks that the team is focused on. The second direction is the development of new functionality. And the third direction is migration. Also an important point. We are preparing for the commercial launch of EYWA. For launch of EYWA into commercial operation with the ability to interact more liquidity to the protocol and to attract clients who will use it. Let me remind you that our focus is now on B2B clients. So it is necessary to develop new functionality that is not currently in the platform, but we are working on it. And it is also necessary to migrate, because it is also an architectural solution. The EYWA mainnet is currently on the Aurora blockchain, which is on layer 2 on the NEAR blockchain. It was decided to migrate to another chain, to the Phantom chain. This is layer 1 blockchain. It is cheap, fast, and meeting our requirements. I answered questions in chats. Why did this happen? The answer is that we reached the technological limits of the Aurora blockchain. Gas limit per block is quite low there. So it is expensive to perform calculations in the NEAR blockchain, because the limit is set at the level of the NEAR blockchain in Aurora. And here is our business logic. It works. But the problem is that this system cannot scale up with the NEAR and Aurora blockchains in their current form. This means that capacity of our DEX system, if we stay there, will be maximum 1 transaction per second. We consider this to be insufficient, so we decided to migrate consulting with the CEO of Aurora because they cannot themselves bypass their restrictions, and they have at the NIR protocol level. If the NIR protocol had increased the gas limit for Aurora several times, maybe we would not have migrated anywhere. We have to migrate to Phantom. This was one part of news. Second one. Those who have been deeply studying how EYWA works know that we use curve pools. We use code of such a project called Curve Finance. There are the TUPTO DEX by total value locked, or TVL, and by transaction volume in general in the world, in DeFi, which was originally focused on the exchange of stable coins. So you can exchange different assets, and it is more profitable than on Uniswap, let's say the second version. We initially used their code, did in fact fork, and launched pools in this that use this code. And in Aurora now, in fact, the technical mainnet of EYWA is a fork of Curve. That is, Curve pools are used. We studied the situation, contacted Curve company. I communicate now directly with Mikhail Yegorov, the founder of Curve and the author of all this technology. And we agreed that EYWA would create pools directly on Curve, so the owner of the contracts will be Curve DAO. And we will do these pools as we planned in many blockchains. So stable pools with stable coins will be in the hub. The hub chain will be a Phantom, which has Curve. And the pools for the exchange of arbitrary assets already using our e-tokens, our stable coins, they will be in different chains. The Curve exchange itself is now on a lot of blockchains. There are about 7 or 8 EVM compatible blockchains. It suits us perfectly. We have now negotiations, and we are in the process of signing our strategic partnership. In general, they like our project, they are ready to support us to become one of the EYWA Oracle network validators and participate in our multi-sig and participate in the DAO. So let's say Curve DAO will take part in EYWA DAO. And of course, what is important is custom integration. In simple terms, that means that we have agreed that we will share the profits. Because if I, as a third-party developer, come to Curve and create some kind of pool there, all profits go exclusively to the pool's liquidity provider and Curve DAO. Accordingly, they are ready to make such customization for us, in which part of the profit will go to EYWA DAO, both from stable pools and pools for the exchange of arbitrary assets of projects that will be listed on EYWA DAX. In fact, EYWA DAX is such an add-on for the Curve exchange, which makes Curve a cross-chain exchange. Because now Curve is such an exchange where we can change assets, but within one blockchain. They have a lot of blockchains, but there are no cross-chain exchanges. But with the help of EYWA, they will appear there. For us, this is, we believe, a good strategic move because it's the top 2 exchanges in the world. Many investors will be encouraged, I think, by this event. Secondly, since in the top 2 there are a lot of liquidity providers, and it will be much easier for us to attract liquidity for our pools, relying on this ready-made ecosystem playing by its rules, because there is a large, powerful community of people. And TVL Curve is about $4 billion. So there is a lot of liquidity there, and in fact we don't even need that much. We think that we will attract liquidity quickly enough with such a collaboration, and it will be most efficient than making some kind of separate fork of Curve. In fact, we could get permission for this fork, because the use of the Curve code should be agreed with its author. We could get this permission, but we decided that it is actually more strategically beneficial to work on the Curve platform itself. So that's what we are focused on right now. We are developing the final functionality, which will be, let's say, at the commercial launch stage. That is the functionality that our customers need. Wow, we actually started with Trumps. One of my further questions should have been about interest in partnerships, and you have already answered it. And I think that what you just said about Curve, for all of our investors, viewers, partners, it should be incredibly inspiring, because this information is just incredible. This is a very strong partnership. Sometimes I don't believe myself, because for me, Curve has always been like, I studied it. I thought the guys have done such a thing. It's cool to talk with them someday. Now we communicate. I sometimes think that dreams come true. Everything is going its way and everything is done as it should be. You mentioned commercial mainnet, and this phrase sounds quite often. Let's try to define, according to the plan, when it is expected and what awaits the user in the commercial mainnet. I think that with a combination of luck, this will happen in March, maybe in early April. Your question was what will be there for the user, right? Yes, what this commercial mainnet includes for users, and in general, it can be some kind of internal information, if possible. I'll start with the functionality for users and then what it consists of. The functionality for the user is as follows. What for users of DX, it will be a kind of packaging. As for user interface, it will be similar to DEX. For example, Pancake Swap. It will be similar to it. That is, on the DX, on the one hand, I have an exchange interface, swap. We already have it in some form in the technical mainnet. And the most important thing that will be the interface for working with liquidity in farming. I provide liquidity and I can earn. Who will be the client? The main client is projects. Any crypto project that can create liquidity pool can be our product, can be our client. It can firstly add liquidity to our stable pools and receive our e-tokens. What is this? For example, an EUSD token is a token that is backed by different types of stablecoins deposited from different chains. So initially, yes, it is possible to receive this EUSD. And it is already on our platform in the technical mainnet. In addition to EUSD, there are 4 other stablecoins: EUSDT, EUSDC, EDAI, and EBUSD. Accordingly, they will also appear there. They can be created there. What's the main idea? Any project can create a liquidity pool, which will be a single liquidity pool that connects many networks. So the project, instead of, for example, on some DAX, on PancakeSwap, create liquidity pool and trade only in one network. If it creates, for example, on PancakeSwap, he will trade its token only on BNB chain. On SushiSwap, on Uniswap, the same thing, within the same chain. For each new chain, a new pool of liquidity is needed. We offer a unique offer. Create one liquidity pool, and it will look to the end user as if this token is traded on all network. It can be bought on any chain. We offer project a cross-chain listing service. It includes many parameters that depend on the desire of the project. If the project wants user to receive the token from it in many networks, then we additionally list this token on our cross-chain bridge, and it becomes possible to move the token between several blockchains, the list of which is set at the request of the project. Maybe a project does not need to have a token in many chains. It will be only on one network. But at the same time, we believe that any product needs and would like its token to be bought from different blockchains. Then the listing option on the token bridge does not apply. The option to create a cross-chain pool is applied. And the target pools that we will promote first of all are the pools that use our e-tokens. As I have already listed, there are 5 of them initially. What will they give? They will provide additional yield for these projects in the next step when EYWA launches its token. So all the liquidity that is played on our DAX in the form of stable coins, that is, they are actually turned into e-token, right? These e-tokens, even those that lie inside the liquidity pool with the token of the certain product, we will receive additional yield in EYWA. That is the motivation for the project to use e-token. But technically, it will be possible to create any pools with ordinary stablecoin, with anything, for example, BNB or Ether. They can be created technically, but then at the next step, there will be no boost in profitability from us. The project chooses itself. And at the interface level, it will look like this. There is a classic interface for working with liquidity. I can create an LP token, I can insert a liquidity pool, I can add liquidity there, reduce liquidity, create a new liquidity pool. This is a classic story. For example, PancakeSwap looks like. And there will be a farming section. There is such a dashboard that will show absolutely all the pools in all the chains that we will create. And the big advantage that distinguishes us from other DEXs, that we will enable the project to farm on its pool, pay with its own token. The project can attract users to its liquidity pool by paying with its own token. On the largest DEX like PancakeSwap, it is impossible. The entire yield is always paid in the DEX token there. This means that the project must go and buy a DEX token for a round sum of money in order to pay out returns to the pool users, liquidity providers, with this token. We will not do this, at the initial stage at least. We will offer the project to select an option during cross-chain listing. What profitability will it have on the pool? What token and what's to pay this yield? For how long, how much liquidity will initially set? We think that this will help us attract more projects because these are very, very favorable conditions for the project. And in this farm interface, in this dashboard, it will be clear which liquidity pool, in which chain, which token against the e-token or something else. For example, we have a code name for project X, token X. The X project token is traded, for example, against EUSD in, for example, BNB chain, and there is farming. Such and such profitability is paid by the X token. And the next step, when we issue the EYWA token, launch the DO, farming, and so on, there will be additional boosting of profitability. That is, in addition to this profitability, which is paid in this pool in the X token, there will be also additional profitability in the EYWA token. because all those who took the E token and put it in the pool, they actually brought money to the EYWA liquidity pool, stable money. This means that they can be paid a reward for this as liquidity providers, and we will do it. The complexity of this mechanic is that it's all done cross-chain, but it's like the next steps. I'm now talking about the last release. From the point of view of end users, there will be just a swap interface in which it will be possible to bridge some assets at the same time. For example, if a token and several networks can be selected in the same interface, token X from this chain transferred to token X in another chain. Buy token X, for example, with 4 types of stablecoins from 6 networks, this is maximum case. It all depends on what the project wants. That is the usual trading interface. There will also be one additional interface that we do not currently have as part of EYWA Oracle Network Explorer. There will be another validator dashboard. We are at this stage. By the release, we believe that we have completed the audit, and we should move to some degree of decentralization, because now there is no money in the system yet. We all hold the EYWA Oracle Network validators ourselves. So at the stage when money will already have to be added, naturally we will remove the need for trust in us. And this is a transitional period. It's called proof of authority. We use those validators who have already bought nodes from us. There are about 30 of them, and plus we will attract partners. Our target is to reach 40 validators. There will already be proof of authority validators that are in the hands of different people. There will be 40 of them. And there will be a dashboard section in which these validators will be visible, names, addresses, and so on. And one of those validators will be Curve Finance by our prior arrangement. And all this is designed to ensure maximum confidence in the project, because our offer is aimed primarily at project founders who must manage the liquidity of their token. They want a maximum number of confirmations that this is all a safe story. We are preparing for the entire list. Here is an audit. Here you have Curve's trust in us. This liquidity lies namely on Curve. Security rests on the security of our bridge, which is validated by 40 validators. What is now only in one protocol. There are more than 40 validators there. This is Axelar. It now has 66 validators. As soon as we move to proof of stake, the next stage, we have many times more validators that they have, and they even more than they will ever have at their maximum. Well, I'm jumping ahead of myself a little. And as of some nuances of launch, I believe that by that time we will start more active marketing. More probably due to partnerships, because after this start, our task will be to onboard as many new projects as possible, and they will tell about us. We will naturally begin maximum development of some kind of marketing, PR, by the token generation ceremony, TGE, and its subsequent listing, either DX or CEX. And these are probably some of the following questions, right? Well, yes. We should give our viewers a little break, because the answer is more than exhaustive and well-structured. We always thank you for such a clear presentation of information. And yes, I really wanted to ask about TGE. This is what our viewers, our partners, our investors are interested in. Here is such a triple question. Where are you planning this TGE procedure? Where will it take place? And what do you think about the current market situation? Okay, one by one. When? It will take place when we have, let's say, ready ready token application. I would like to do this in the spring, in the second quarter. I would say closer to the second half of the second quarter. Well, I answer sometimes in chat that we don't want to make a token just for token, because technically, when we want to make the system decentralized, there is a need for a token. If it works autonomously, for example in proof of authority mode or even centrally, then the token is not needed. And now we are launching the core of the system so that it functions and already brings some profit and benefit. And the second part of the work is to move these decentralized mechanics with the token there. We will launch the token when we have ready DAO. In its first approximation, DAO is a tool for obtaining votes. A DAO that can, roughly speaking, lock a token. I lock a token there, and it gives me votes. And these votes at least affect the profitability I receive on farming. At least this link should be implemented by us. The next further steps to develop this DAO. These votes give me the opportunity to manage the protocol, give some orders to it, but this still requires additional development. And the second important thing is, of course, what is called incentive. It is motivation or farming. To attract liquidity, we pay rewards with token and so on. But for example, if we take only one utility, token, launch it, and the only thing is needed for it to pay rewards for farming, this idea is doomed to fail. Because the rate of the token will be like this. It will first grow and then it will fall steadily, because its only meaning is that rewards are paid to someone. And it goes and sells this token. That's why, in order for everything to be fine with the rate, you need to do all these utilities. According to the plan, we have to do it. After we launch the commercial release proof of stake, if we separately consider EYWA Oracle network, the next big step will be the launch of the testnet of proof of stake. And we are already developing. We have, roughly speaking, ready proof of authority. It's already being final tested, and we are already developing the proof of stake in advance. It has been algorithmically described. There is already a backlog. It remains to program something there. But this algorithmic task was rather complicated, and we have been solving it for a long time. But we have solved it. We involved third-party experts and so on. And as for the proof of stake, testnet goes, and when it's already clear that everything is fine, we plan to make TGE, because they will be the most positive news background. And we also want to ensure that after people have actually received tokens, someone will buy it on IDO or somewhere else, they have what to do with these tokens. What set of action they're supposed to have? The ability to put a token into staking, not some imaginary one, but a real. That is, delegate this token to the EYWA Oracle network validators. Then log this token in the DAO, that is, get more votes. Moreover, we plan to connect our NFT tokens that we have. I think you remember, the EYWA collection of NFT tokens exists. It was originally an NFT collection as an airdrop for early adopters. And here's my fixed idea, to make them available. We promised to do it. And so we want to connect the NFT to the DAO. It looks like this. I just want to stake the EYWA token. I have it from somewhere, I delegate it to the validator, and I get a profit in EYWA tokens. If I want to become a member of DAO, then I still need more NFT. In addition to the fact that I block the EYWA token, if I still have NFT, then this becomes like a key to the DAO. I may have an NFT that has tokens, or maybe these NFTs plus more tokens, and I combine it all into a single position. This is how our DAO will work. And my DAO membership is confirmed by NFT ownership. This seems to be the key point. We still have quite large amount of work to do in terms of DAO, proof of stake, and so on. And after we understand that the proof of stake took place, at least at the testnet level, we will prepare the TGE launch ceremony itself. Then sale IDO. There is no final information yet in what format it will be. It will be either some kind of large platform, a large launch pad, and then listing on a centralized exchange. Or it will be a launch pad plus a launch on the DEX, most likely on its own liquidity pool DEX. We will see. Well, I'll say right away that listing will be on centralized exchanges in any case, but it's not 100% that will be in the first place. It's possible that we will just start working with DEX. And I also want to draw everyone's attention that the next important round after TGE and IDO is a round for alpha testers. And I wanted to make an important announcement. What we call it so, a round for alpha testers, because they will have the right of first refusal, the opportunity to be the first to buy. And if they buy out all their locations, then others will get nothing. But I'm convinced that this will not happen. We promised alpha testers that they would have the right of first refusal, and they will have it. The first stage for a small amount, about $37, they will be able to enter the second stage for a much larger amount, for example, up to $1,000 or, for example, 500, well, much more. And when their demand is satisfied, we will give the remaining location for free sale. Anyone will be able to buy it. And the point is that the fixed price of this location is 9 cents. This price is lower than IDO, but there are other lock conditions. That is, the location in IDO, it has a lock for only 3 months, according to the tokenomics, and unlocks there in large portions. So this round will be a lock for a year, but the price will be 9 cents. Think about how it will be after IDO. And what will be the price of IDO? Well, we will do our best to make it high enough. The difference, handicap between the entry price and the price that will actually be the market one, the difference will be quite high. Moreover, to make it clear, this round is not just about raising money. This is a round of raising liquidity to the liquidity pool with a token. So all the money that comes into it will automatically be added to the liquidity pool. What we'll need to an increase in the token price, and the amount of the round is $2 million. During this round, the price will rise in real time, pushing people to understand that these are very favorable conditions to buy an expensive token cheaply now, even with a lock. Here are our plans. This round is needed in order for the EYWA token to have a large stable liquidity pool in excess of $1 million. There is a round for $2 million. Some part will be taken away during the sale, probably by those who have tokens, by someone who bought them on IDO, for example, and the rest of it will be liquidity, a protocol that will belong to Treasury EYWA, what is called protocol-owned liquidity, the protocol's own liquidity. What I'm telling you is a guarantee that everything will be okay with the token rate, because this is a fairly large pool of liquidity. Well, okay, it's not huge, but there is also a much larger liquidity pool, but in general, for projects that are just launching the token, it is a quite good basis. And of course, there will be a farming and so on. Well, now I can't tell the full picture, such a step-by-step timeline, that the sequence will be just like that. Here are the general milestones, but there may be situations when, for example, we will first launch farming and a bit later staking. It would be ideal to launch them together, but most likely it will be somehow spread over time. But it's absolutely clear that after the IDO round, there will be this round to attract liquidity, which we call the alpha testers round. And another important thing about the future is that the testnet EYWA Oracle network is proof of stake. There, their reward will be nodes. Those who pass the testnet will receive nodes for free. Let me remind you that the minimum deposit for the node at the IDO price is $10,000. We believe that this fact will allow us to attract a large number of people who want to get a node for free and pass all the required checks and tests, raise servers, and so on. And those who bought nodes still have this opportunity. I underline that they guarantee themselves delegations to receive a delegation the amount of 10 times the amount of the stake that they buy. Buy 100,000 tokens, get 1 million tokens in the delegation. And we give all the profit, 1 million tokens in the delegation for a certain time, but all the profit that will be from this volume is received by this very validator who buys the node. And in anticipation of the launch of this proof of authority mode, we'll have a new opportunity. This month we want to announce this already and collect first a small testnet so that people can practice, and then by the commercial release in March switch to the mainnet mode. And I want to say that we will have the opportunity to purchase node. I believe that someone might be interested in this, because we used to sell nodes as a promise of better future, and now they're already working. And anyone who is interested in it can pick it up, look at it, feel it, and then make a decision. Okay, as usual, I probably talk a long time, but I told a lot of details. No, that is a great answer. The only thing I would like to tell in a nutshell, well, now you have given very cool information to our viewers and to those who acquired nodes, that they need to get ready. And that's very cool, and how all these important procedures will take place, and about alpha testers and about mechanics. This is the most valuable information that is now being heard directly from you. That is very, very cool and very important. And now let's try to abstract from EYWA, from what you and the team is focused on. Well, could you please give me some short opinion about what is happening on the market now? Because something began to grow, there are some green graphs everywhere. You, as a person who has been working in this market for many years, what do you see there? Is growth starting there, or it is still something incomprehensible? Well, in fact, I don't have a certain opinion on this matter now. Because this growth, it can be, as it were, a double bottom. On the one hand, the scenario is quite possible that Bitcoin will go back, dive by about 18,000, and the entire market will sink very quickly behind it. Or this growth will continue further. So currently, it is difficult to say something for sure. It needs to gain a foothold above the next level. I guess it's over 30, but I don't remember exactly now. But there are so-called Fibonacci levels that work like magnets. If you break through this level, at first it is resistance, but if you rise high, it becomes support. And there are such price ranges on Bitcoin that are quite empty. They can reach about $5, $7, $10,000. And if we pierce some mark, we can fly further there by 5, 7,000 up. And the same goes down. And it seems to me that the current price level is not so solid. It's not such a historical support to resistances. We need to gain a foothold higher in order to say that yes, now we will grow. There will be growth, and we will continue to grow and grow. This is if we evaluate this situation in terms of linking everything to Bitcoin. And from the point of view of some geopolitical situation, it's also difficult for me to judge. It seems that the situation is rather shaky. Now, I don't see any such global drivers for the economic growth of the whole world. We are ready for the worst scenario that this bear market will last another 6 months or a year. Most likely there will be such bursts. But it's not for sure that we will see some unprecedented new rise in Bitcoin in this year. We can be in sideways trend this year, walking between judging by Bitcoin without rising above 35,000 the whole year. I totally agree with this scenario. This parabolic growth, it's not a fact that this year will happen, but it will certainly happen. I think that at 24 or 25 for sure. Well, I have such a rather restrained optimism. There is definitely no euphoria. Great answer, thank you. The most important thing is that we prepared for the worst. I recently read your post where you write about the fact that quality projects in the bear market are becoming stronger. Something like that you wrote. Yes, I fully agree with this point of view. Yeah, that's a good time to harden strong projects the way steel is hardened. Because now the projects are more or less hungry and they must think about some kind of super efficiency of what they're doing. Otherwise, they simply cannot survive. Because there's no excess of resources and so on, there's no easy money in the market. Usually during these periods, only professionals remain on this market. Those who are 24/7 the crypt, if it's retail, or professional investors, professional private investors or professional funds. And all the hype, all the form it leaves washes away. The same applies to projects, because projects that have a story about the fact that we will now make a token just for token, we will make a sale, and we will list on the exchange, and this is our main roadmap. We made a website, made a token, made a listing. There are the projects in the bear market, and there are fewer and fewer of them because there's no point, because there's no easy money on the market. And when, unfortunately, the bull market comes, everything starts going up, not just the good ones. And some people, investors, feel that they have some kind of super ability to invest, because whatever I buy, it keeps growing. Therefore, I believe that on the one hand, it's difficult time in terms of survival, but on the other hand, it tempers somehow. I fully agree with this. In fact, I propose to complete our conversation already, and in conclusion, something in a nutshell. Let's try to wish our viewers who watched us today, listened to our conversation and all these details you voiced. Now, let's wish something. Well, I do it often. Recently, a podcast was released for one such good crypto community, which we will translate in English soon. So I wished people not to keep money on centralized exchanges and custodial wallets. Store money only in non-custodial wallets and own your private keys. Well, either on the cold wallets to store, because the recent crash and partly the sponsor of current bear market is the collapse of a number of centralized projects, which in general were hidden pyramids there, such as Celsius, FTX, and so on. They were actually stealing from people who trusted them with their funds because they were custodial solutions. You just put money into a black box and no one knows what happens to them next. And in fact, there is a gradual realization that the future is to do everything that a centralized exchange can provide, to do it in a decentralized way. And individual parts, this has already been done. There are already protocols that allow you to trade with leverage on-chain, various loan exchange protocols and so on. But there is no single interface, there is still no super convenience as in centralized exchanges. But we are moving towards it. I recently thought that EYWA can be such an ecosystem in which these solutions will be collected, which will eventually allow to comprehensively close this issue, that the user will no longer need any centralized exchanges, and all this can be done on-chain. Many products solve this problem in some parts. There are OneEach, Curve, Uniswap. Each of them solves its own piece of the problem. And I believe that after a while, some super apps and ecosystem will appear that collect a lot of this innovative technical solution in a single product. Because right now it's rather disjoint story. Well, it didn't work in short. Actually, I completely agree with you. And now, in conclusion, I want to remind our viewers and investors that the DigiU ecosystem, that the snapshot of EYWA tokens which belong to the DigiU ecosystem is currently taking place. And if you purchase any package of shares before February 10th, inclusive, EYWA tokens will be distributed to these shares from 1 to 2 billion tokens we plan to distribute. And the restricted amount of this snapshot is that a limited number of shares participate in it, only those shares that were acquired in the period from the last snapshot, from November 1st, 2022 to February 10th, 2023, inclusive. And before the event that Boris has been talking about for almost an hour, everyone has the opportunity to replenish their portfolio as an investor in the DigiU ecosystem with EYWA project tokens. And this opportunity is definitely worth taking advantage of. I thank you, Boris, for this time you found in the schedule and which we spent today. It seems to me with a great benefit. See you soon with the audience and see you soon. Thank you, everybody. everyone. Goodbye.